whatever. Yes, Sanders not saying anything is disappointing. Like, share, subscribe. I have another video on Tulsi I want to do because people sometimes misunderstand where I come from on this. In fact, I'll do it now. Yeah, I'll do it now. There's I don't quite understand why Sanders supporters attack Tulsi supporters. I don't get it. I know there's always this kind of incidental fire of sorts, and everyone advocates for their candidate, right? I mean, that's just kind of a right of any level of political discourse. And within the context of that advocation for a candidate, you rub against the edges of other candidates. Fair enough. I don't need somebody to support all of my plans. Not at all. I got my person, Sanders. That's the person I'm voting for. But not everybody gets into a political race for the exact same reasons. In 2016, Bernie Sanders got into that race entirely, to push Clinton to the left. He had no clue, he had no idea that he was going to catch fire. I think he was polling at like 3% when Sanders first got into the race. Well, he was wrong. He caught on fire. The whole field burned stuff. And Sanders had a wisp of a chance of actually winning that race, despite the cheating. So he runs again in 2020. I guess my point is, in that race, though, he didn't have any context of winning that race. He just got into that race to push the party to the left. Tulsi gets into the race. In my head, she has no chance. Sanders supporters, honestly, do you think she has a chance of winning the race? My answer is no. Because my answer is no, I could be infinitely magnanimous. Above the world. Yes, I think she's an awesome candidate. If it was closer, less so, because the situation itself kind of demands and sets the behavior. If you don't think she can win, then what does it matter? And not just what does it matter, is it possible that her anti-war stuff, it's possible that she doesn't think she can win, which I think is irrelevant. But the anti-war stuff in and of itself is something unique in our political discourse. Why would you not want that on stage? Why? Many Sanders supporters are anti-war. Great. Why would you not want somebody pushing Sanders to the left on issues of war? And who else is on that stage going to do that? You have a bunch of neocons spewing this nonsense. And you have her, who's willing, despite being called a Putin puppet, despite being called an Assad toady, all that stuff, takes all of it and still gets on stage and says, we need to stop these regime change wars. We need to get our troops home. Trump was wrong for doing it that way he did it, but we need to bring our troops home. That part he's not wrong on. Nobody else would do that. She's the only person. Sanders may bring up, yes, I'm trying to end the war in Yemen, but what about Syria? What about Afghanistan? Would you bring those troops home? Tulsi will say that. And she may even ask Sanders, will you do that? And her doing that will be a good fucking thing. It'll be a good thing. If you want Sanders pushed to the left, who else is going to do it? Especially on issues of war. I don't care if she doesn't back Sanders on this notion of federal jobs guarantee versus UBI. I don't care about that. I don't think she can win. As long as she's not damaging my candidate and the candidate that I care about, I have no issue. I don't know why anybody would have an issue. I would even want her as Secretary of State. Meaning, like, I don't need to have everything that I want in a candidate who I don't think is going to win. That's my point. And in the issues to which I agree with her on, I want her on that debate stage pushing Sanders to the left. Not just that, making an argument that I myself may make. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. At least in my head it is. Right here. Super Nerd Inc. Oh, that's not it. Where is it? I thought I saw somebody say Nina spoke out in favor of Tulsi. Oh, there it is. Tony Waters. Nina spoke out in support of Tulsi. Right on Nina. I love some Nina Turner. I've said that on more than one occasion. Sanders is controlled. Sanders is not controlled, Xavier. That's not being controlled. Or not by any person per se. Situation demands the behavior. I know I say that a lot, but it's true. I mean, how people behave. It's like if you had 1,000 iterations of a campaign, how many of them would do X? How many would do Y? How many would do something else? And if you get, let's say, 60% or 70% of a distribution that does X as opposed to Y, well, at some point you could say, okay, most campaigns behave in this particular way for these particular reasons. I guess my point is the environment itself, in many respects, commands behavior. It is very possible that Sanders looks at this and says, I don't want to touch this rail. Very possible. And not touch that rail because there is a 2016 echo that still pervades. It's almost as if 2016 hasn't stopped. Yeah, it almost as if 2016 hasn't stopped. And he's still, it's tricky. Like, it's hard to know how that works out. And so, I don't know. I suppose he just takes the perspective of, I'm not touching the hat rail. Tulsi just signed the End of War pledge, not the DNC loyalty pledge. Excellent. All right. No pushback on being cheated. Xavier Foster. That is true. And this is kind of why I make the point that Tulsi saying is rigged and everything else. That's not her trying to get a third party. That is not her being groomed by Russians. That is her being groomed by the DNC. There's a difference in those things. The moment that you know that the DNC will argue in court that they can pick a candidate in a smoke-filled room, this notion of fairness and everything else, why should I give you the benefit of